your background, the amount of money you have, the market. So what we're gonna get into today is what is reasonable? What can we actually expect in a business like this? Let's break it down. So tell me, why power washing of all things?
So I looked at a ton of businesses all in the boring business space, about
how to get started, business model breakdown, deal structuring, insider secrets,
dozen.
pros and cons.
And what I was looking for, I had a checklist, and I think anyone who's interested in buying a business needs to have a checklist of what they're looking for. So I wanted something that was recession resistant. So had either withstood the test of time or had the ability to withstand the test
Looking at me, I thought we were focused on business.
Of time. I wanted something that had a massive total addressable market, residential and commercial customers. So we're about half and half. I wanted something that was fragmented.
Got it all.
So a lot of kind of smaller players, because in my experience I found that the more fragmented the industry, the easier it is to disrupt. I wanted something that had high margins, because who buys a business and doesn't want high margins? There were two things that were really interesting to me about this model particularly. Was it had a difference in product offering. You know, you hear a lot of business owners talk about a moat. So we have proprietary technology, proprietary equipment. We can power wash 5 stories from the ground, and we can do a 3,000 square foot house in 25 minutes. It's wild. And then the other thing that was really interesting to me about power washing specifically was there's no national player. There's no leader in the power washing industry. And so I saw an opportunity to build that.
So when you talk about fragmentation, that basically means essentially that. You don't have 3 to 5 players owning the entire market. You have
Correct.
a lot of little guys who maybe are not as hard to compete with.
Right, and they are.
That's a good point. He might be speaking right here. I don't know any big name brand power washing companies that are dominating over anybody else, to be honest with you. Now that I'm thinking about it, I really don't know any big power washing companies. So he's got a good point right here.
Or, you know, have a good business. They like to knock doors. Maybe they have a pressure washer that they bought, but we're just operating on kind of a largeness. They like to knock doors.
Pressure wash? I've never done it. But
Maybe they have a pressure washer that they bought, but we're just operating on kind of a larger scale and can do much bigger jobs and really kind of like operate outside of that.
What do you mean by high margins? So like we know small businesses, you typically run somewhere between 15 and 30% margins.
Yep.
What do you consider high margins in this
So
business?
I wanted something that was above 20%, 25% would be ideal, and the founders of this business operate between a 30 to 40% margin.
Amazing, which basically means you get to make more mistakes because you have a little bit more cash cushion.
Right, and a lot of the people who start a business for the first time are going to make
profit margins also mean bigger margin for error.
Mistakes, and I want them to be able to cash flow while still making those mistakes.
Oh yeah, me too. Hollywood, beautiful, shiny career to boring businesses. What the hell happened?
Yeah, so I was working.
Career to, oh yeah, me too. Hollywood, beautiful, shiny career to boring businesses.
Hollywood.
What the hell happened?
Yeah, so I was working in Hollywood. I wanted to be a talent agent. Did that for years, was working with Academy Award-winning actors and Academy Award-nominated actors.
How much were you making at the time?
I was making...
Oh my God, no, I see it. Hold on. I don't know what happened, but I see it though. I could tell he was one of them ones. Just looking at
$30,000 a year.
So you had no money, and then a friend came to you.
Yep, and he goes, hey, like, I work for this carpet cleaning business, and you should get into it. And I was like, carpet cleaning? He goes, no, trust me, like, we're growing locations nationwide, and I need your help growing and scaling this business.
So you start small, and the idea is take a small, boring business, an everyday business, see if that works, and then let's scale it up.
Correct.
And then you got
So this is less about passion. He was more focused on the
hooked
money.
on the dirty business.
I got hooked. I went from Hollywood to carpet cleaning, and got hooked on it. We grew that. Then I went to drywall repair, then and grew the biggest drywall repair company. And then I was like, wait a minute, I can do this on my own. I could find a business that I believe in, and I could grow it, and I could buy it, and I could build teams. And I went to my wife. I said, I want to find a business and to acquire. I don't know which business yet. I'm going to raise capital. I don't have the capital yet. What are your thoughts?
Okay, before we get to the capital raising, I want to talk about the business model because it's so good. So we're going to tell you how to raise capital, how to do the next part. But first, let's talk about why you even thought you could raise somebody else's money to buy this business, because it's not so obvious. And I want to show you guys on a whiteboard. Huge whiteboard I want to show you guys. We're going to break it down like crazy. Oh, wait a second. The whiteboard isn't that big because the business model is not that complicated.
Nah, she really fried us though. I'm thinking she gonna pull out something crazy. She really pulled out the the mini whiteboard out from the dollar store.
My favorite thing.
Okay.
We wanted to start this in a weekend 101 level version.
How breakdown, starting with cost, time. I'm guessing this is numbers, money, labor.
Would you do it? How much would it cost to, let's say, do a 3,000 square foot house pressure wash it?
$350 to $500. Let's just say. Okay.
How long would it take you if you were using a non-commercial grade power washer from Home Depot?
3 to 4 hours.
Ooh boy. So if we chopped it down to a lower price. If we chopped it down to a lower price power washer.
Using a non-commercial grade power washer from Home Depot.
3 to 4 hours, probably.
How many could you do in a day?
2.
Okay, let's
Two?
say we do 2 in a day. Maybe you could
Could take about 8 hours. That's an 8-hour shift, 2 a day.
throw on some driveways for additional revenue. Maybe you're just doing driveways and you're charging them $100. Let's talk about labor. Well, in this case, labor's you, motherfucker. You're gonna be the one paying it.
Absolutely.
Oh, you. Chemicals. How much would that cost and what would we do?
Maybe $16 for a gallon of Clorox.
$16. That ain't
Probably
bad.
a power washing. You could probably even rent a really early.
So right now,
Gallon of Clorox.
Breaking the bank. Probably a power wash.
we're at $500 plus the $16. So we're about $516, somewhere around there. I'm going higher end. This is the higher end of the stick. $516.
Washing. You could probably even rent a really early version from like Home Depot for a couple
Boom. So if you were to get a big power washer job,
$100.
You could. One will cost you maybe $300 or $400 if you go to starting.
You could rent some. Obviously, the scale's all the way up to big, huge commercial pressure washers. But right here, you've got a business where if you get, I don't know, I'm no mathematician here, but if you get 2 to 5 different clients, you're breaking even. You're doing some hard work, though, to do it.
Yeah,
no dirty
definitely.
business, no boring business is without hard work up front if you're going to scale it this way. Any other costs we're not thinking of right here?
Maybe a website? Some business cards?
Some tech, some swag. Got a little logo right here, see that family? Maybe you're running.
boom. This
Some business
website definitely important. Definitely important. This is a nice website too.
cards?
Tech, some
Business
swag.
cards. Now swag, I wouldn't
Got
call
a
this a
logo.
necessary expense. I personally don't believe that swag would be under a necessary expense. I just don't think that's 100% necessary. I hope my camera doesn't look like this at the end, because I swear it was not acting up crazy like this. But I wouldn't call swag a necessary expense. It definitely could help build.
Right here, see that family? Maybe you're running
It's
over
not a
to
startup
one of
cost.
those trade supply stores, putting out a jumpsuit. It's not even your own
Could make
logo.
you
We keep it
seem
really
more
cheap.
credible,
Let's
though.
call this something like $25. Let's call this $25. Bada boom, bada bing. You got a cleaning business.
So we got. Let's take this out because we don't need this as a startup cost. So we got $350 to $500 for a startup cost. What was that for again? 350. That was
3,000 square foot house pressure wash it.
$350 to $500. Let's just say. Okay.
How long would it take you house pressure wash it? How much would it cost to, let's say, do a 3,000 square foot house pressure wash it?
$350 to $500. Let's just.
Is this costing or am I making this?
Okay.
How long would it take you if you
I'm gonna assume we're making this. Because it's just water. So if we're making that, we made $300 to $500. So it's gonna take us 4 hours. What was the 2 for?
$300 or $400.
charging them $100? Let's talk about.
2?
Okay.
Two?
We could do 2 a day. So let's say we're making $400. We could do 2 a day. That's $800. It's gonna take us 8 hours total. 800. We made $800.
And we do 2 in a day.
Labor is
Rent
us.
a really
It's gonna take $16 for
Gallon of
chemicals.
version from like some where if you get, I don't know.
If we get a high-end power wash, it's gonna be $300 to $400.
I'm no mathematician here, but if you get 2 to 5 those trade supply stores putting out a jumpsuit, it's not even. Fascinating part about you is you fast-tracked your way into this existing business by finding an owner who had been in business for 34 years, and then you structured a really unique deal with them.
I did.
To be able to do what you do today. Can you explain
Correct.
that deal?
So I was
We didn't
looking
start
for
this
a
from the
business
ground
that
up.
was simple, easy to replicate, could work in any single market.
I'm not gonna take that away from you.
And so I approached a 34-year-old power washing
She's
business.
about-
So
this channel, she focuses on business buying, I believe, buying businesses. So I would assume that's why she decided to interview this guy.
I took their business, I did a rebrand, created this logo, and now we have 187 locations nationwide.
So wait a second, how many clients do you guys have now?
Thousands.
That must be really hard to manage.
It is.
Like, you can't use a spreadsheet.
Absolutely not.
That must be really...
Locations nationwide.
So wait a second, how many clients do you guys have now?
Thousands.
That must be really hard to manage.
It is.
This
Like,
a
you can't use a
sponsor?
spreadsheet.
I feel a sponsor coming on.
Absolutely not.
So you use a CRM?
Yes.
I use a CRM too. Actually, it's HubSpot, so thank you for sponsoring this video.
I already knew it. Can't get me.
We're all referrals.
How did you raise money when that's not in your background? You weren't super rich, no trust fund baby over here.
No, definitely not.
What was your process, and what could people learn from your process so they might be able to go raise capital if they need it?
I was speaking a completely different language. I didn't know what a Class A share was, a Class B share, Class C. I didn't know what any of these, like a unit count, I didn't know any of that stuff. But I was able to lean on mentors that I've known who have done this before, and that's why I can't stress finding the mentors that can do this. And I asked them, hey, this is kind of what I'm thinking. This is what I think I should structure this deal as.
Phone's ringing.
What are your thoughts? And then I took a valuation and I took it to investors and I said, this is the percent of the business I'm selling. Do you want in or out?
Yeah.
And then I invested my own money as well.
And how many investors did you have to go to in order to get the total amount raised?
We have 5 total investors, including me and the founders of the business.
Yeah, I think that's an underrated thing these days. People think, well, I got to go have a ton of different people with small checks. And the real way to do it is go to and find, 5 or 10, maybe max, of the richest people you know who already want the thing that you are selling, which is they're looking to invest in.
I've never looked into looking into investors before, or I've never looked into investors before, so I don't really understand that whole process. I guess if you're starting a business like this, that'd be important. Now, my business is service-based, which this is service-based, but this is more personal skill-based. And investors might be something I might need to look into in the future. I don't know too much
things that, for instance, cash flow.
Right.
And this is where people on the internet are going to go, must be nice if you know a bunch of rich people. And what's wonderful is that this is so rare that people do it.
Right.
That there's this there's a curse of lack of competency in this world.
Right.
So I think when people find people that are willing to do the work, competent and relentless in their ability to execute, it turns out pocketbooks open. We actually have a little one-pager here on how to raise funds. If you guys want it, you can click the link. So how long did it take you from the moment you decided to buy a boring business in your mind to actually buying the business?
So it was about 6 months.
Damn, 6 months?
This in your mind to actually buying the business.
So we went from, I don't know if this is including the process or just the first initial step. Is it 6 months between his idea and the first initial step, or is it 6 months between the moment he thought about it and the whole process of actually buying it?
From the moment you decided to buy a boring business in your mind to actually buying the business.
So it was about 6 months, and it was about 3.5 months for me to actually find the business and do the diligence, and then it was
3.5 months is crazy.
About 3.5 months later when we finally structured the deal.
That's crazy. It. You're fast. Probably not going to be that fast for everybody, but again.
Oh, so that's not supposed to be a fast process. Am I missing something? Chat. I might be missing something. Hold on. How long does it take to buy a business? I might be a fool. The timeline for acquiring a small business usually ranges from 2 to 6 months. The process includes stages such as initial negotiations, due diligence, arranging financing, and finalizing the sale agreement. However, according to the Stanford 2020 Search Fund, the average time to acquisition is 23 months. Okay, I see. He's working. He's fast. He's a fast worker, it seems.
And we like to show the full spectrum, so you can see aspirational and really hard charging to normal, which is probably 12 to 18 months.
Right.
I like it. So what do you say to people who say that you can't make...
I have to do all that. Basically, I have no patience.
Any money in boring businesses or power washing?
I would say you're crazy.
Can't make any money in boring business 18 months.
Right.
I like it. So what do you say to people who say that you can't make any money in boring businesses or power washing?
I would say you're crazy. Our founding location, when I acquired it in...
It's the boring businesses that make money because it's a job nobody wants to do. So that has to be put into consideration.
2022, that year did over $2.2 million.
This does look a little bit bigger than what you could buy at Home Depot. So instead of starting the business from scratch, Aaron actually bought into this business, which means the numbers look a little bit different. You guys want to see what the 202 level version is? And if you think this is impressive, just wait until I show you guys how to scale the business like he did. Let's break down some costs in this 202 level version. First, we got the same cost. It costs $350 to $500 to do a 3,000 square foot house, right? Now, how much time does it
this is a cost. I'm not getting paid that. So that is startup cost.
Take you with all this?
25 to 30 minutes.
So we're way down from the 3 to 4 hours to 25 to 30 minutes. Now let's talk about the number of jobs you can do per day.
4 to 5.
Okay, so we double the number of jobs per day. Now let's talk about how much it costs to actually do that. How much does this truck cost?
We finance it. It's $2,000 roughly per month.
And then you've got your cost of chemicals, which if it was $16 before, let's say for Clorox, I guess this is like 1/5 because you have such a larger...
Yeah, I mean, it's 5% of the job roughly.
Okay, so you get a lot lower costs because you're buying its scale, kind of like Costco. All the same costs overhead, like websites and labor. What else are we not thinking about? Insurance for driving a truck like this.
Could be $600 or $700 a month per truck.
How do they get to pay $600 to $700 a month? But if when I try to get insurance on my truck, they try and charge me $600 to $700. Make that make sense. Somebody make this make sense. Now I'm not paying that currently, but I'm just saying I had to go through a hell of a process.
And then do you have to have licenses or certifications to drive this?
No, this is not a CDL.
Also, on top of that, you don't need a license to power wash somebody's house.
No, most states do not require any kind of licensing.
Are there some that do? Yeah, depends on what kind of job.
It depends on whether it's a government job and what kind of insurance you need, but we can just up the insurance for these jobs.
So the fascinating part, I think, with all these businesses is you can start a boring business cheaply and get your return on capital or the amount of money that you invest, you can get it back to you quickly, and then you can get scale. Scale costs more up front, but there's a lot more upside.
Right.
So let's talk about a commercial job really quick.
Sure.
So if you get $350 to $500 to do one house, how much could you get to do a commercial job?
Okay, so they're confusing me. So we are making the 300 to 500. We are making that. That's how much we're making, and then the rest is costs. So okay, so that's pretty profitable.
We've done $20,000 parking garages. We've got recurring contracts with.
Nah, I wish I would go in a parking garage and spend that much time doing it.
We've done $20,000 parking garages. We've got recurring contracts with different fast food restaurants. We do the annual contracts. I mean, that.
She just said that's my love language. I mean, whatever you into, like, it is what it is, bro. Everybody's different.
I mean, we've done $20,000 parking garages. We've got recurring contracts with different fast food restaurants. We do the annual contracts. I mean, that's really where our focus is.
So basically the idea is instead of a residential house, which you could put on recurring too.
Yes, you could. It depends on the market, but yes, absolutely.
You could say, hey, your house gets dirty a lot. We want to come back here about twice a year.
Yep.
If we put you on a plan for coming back twice a year, how about we take 10 or 20% off the cost?
Correct, and we do that, yep.
Yeah, and then you get your credit card ahead of time, which also means that you don't have to chase them down for payment.
Yep,
which
exactly.
Is amazing.
Exactly.
But if you do that on the commercial side, it gets really interesting.
It gets really interesting, and our average commercial job size is close to.
She's giving free knowledge right now. That's why I'm locked in.
$6,000.
So you pretty quickly scale up from the couple $1,000s you could get in a few days doing residential all by yourself to a bigger business. But sometimes I believe in these little gateway businesses where you start tiny, you make sure that you're committed to it, you don't bet the house, you don't bankrupt yourself, and then you figure out if you have what it takes to run one of these bad boys. You actually bought this bad boy, which, you know, people don't just hand out their businesses to others, I don't think.
No, they definitely do not.
And you needed some cash to do it, which you didn't have because you only had $30,000 salary originally and then kind of scaled your way up. Let's break this down. If you like this video, you know what to do. Hit that subscribe button. People want to know how to get revenue in, how to get customers, and grow their businesses if they're going to start this or they're going to
free?
Scale it. So how about we learn from somebody who scaled hundreds of businesses and somebody else who scaled hundreds of businesses? Let's just brainstorm.
Hold on, I thought this was his only thing. How did we get to hundreds? He might be that man.
The best ideas that have worked for you. So I'll go first and then you go. So let's start small. If I was going to start this, I would do pre-orders like a crazy person, which means you're basically going through your Rolodex of everybody who lives in your area and saying, hey, I started this new thing. Can I come and clean your house for a discount? You could even do it at a little bit of a loss to get things rolling. So that would be step one for me. What else do you think?
So what I would do is I'd get a list of 100 potential referral partners. So painters who don't want to power wash, or window cleaners who don't want to power wash, or any kind of other referral partners that don't want to power.
This is genius. Never considered this for real.
What else do you think?
So what I would do is I'd get a list of 100 potential referral partners.
So what he's doing is instead of getting clients directly, he's reaching out to people who provide a similar service but don't want to do the job that he's doing. So
painters who don't want to power wash, or window cleaners who don't want to power wash, or any kind of other.
It's kind of like reaching out to a landscaper, you know? Or it's kind of like being a video editor and reaching out to somebody who shoots music videos who don't want to edit them.
Referral partners that are tangentially connected. That's what I would do, and then I'd reach out to them and tell them, hey, love to make relationships, go that way.
Door knocking, not the funnest thing to do, but let's say you live in a neighborhood right now, which is your target market, and you're going to want to figure out what kind of client you want to have. But if I was you, I might go to some of the richer neighborhoods. While you probably won't get a ton of people to sign up, you might get more than you think.
I would go to businesses that have dirty buildings. Businesses have a dirty building. They like their business, they like their building. It's a very easy sell. Your building is dirty, so it would cost this much to clean it. Can we clean it for you? We can be here tomorrow.
Maybe the last thing that I would add is go old school. Facebook neighborhood groups, Facebook marketing, Neighborly.
Nextdoor, all those kind of apps.
You can watch this video on Spencer. He built his whole business off of one Facebook post. I got a crazy idea.
Yeah.
Should I try to start one of these live? Tell us in the comments if you think we should do it. See if it's reasonable.
These are the videos I like.
Let's talk about some insider tips.
Goes out and really tries these things live. I think that's so fire.
First tip is the 100 list, like this.
100 list of referral partners, 100 list of commercial customers, and 100 list of residential customers.
Boom. People don't know about this. I said this before in a video. Oh, man. Man, I'm telling you. Hold on. Let me go full screen for this. I need y'all to lock in. Log in. Bruh, my screen looks like this. I swear I'm going to crash out. People don't know that you really have to go find your clients. Like, you really have to reach out, and find different ways to find your clients. They're not going to come to you when you first start. I promise that. I guarantee that. Now, as you grow and you get referrals and stuff, it's more possible. But it's really not likely to happen that way.
I love that. So 3 different 100 lists, and how do they fill those?
They either seek them out themselves. They can use data scraping tools, or we recommend they sit down and do it so they can figure out who their target is. It'll be more meaningful to like write their email address in and their phone number and say, this guy has an $8 million painting business. This is a target, because they're going to work that for however long. I mean, that's the goal. And then we upload it into the CRM, and there's like drip campaigns and stuff like that, but it's really sometimes just going to the property management company and saying, how do I get on your vendor list?
Oh, it's so cool. The second tip is the 6 steps for their sales process, like this.
For anyone who's thinking about starting a business and wants to de-risk it, it's like, how many jobs can we sell before we actually open? And so that's a tip that we have our franchisees do. Like, they're required, like from 9 a.m. till 5 p.m. every day. Them or someone on their team or an operating partner or whatever is out doing business development for an entire month before they can even go to training.
I love that.
And so they sell jobs and we have franchisees come with jobs like on the calendar, and we have them hire 2 technicians before they go to training. One is a general manager in training who leads the truck, and then one is a junior technician that works underneath him, and they come with them to training.
The third tip is this one, relationships.
This is a big one. Don't ever overlook
underneath him, and they come with them to training.
The third tip.
Don't ever overlook the importance of relationships when it comes to business. This is so much more important than you think.
Is this one, relationships.
I've learned that relationships are everything. Our mission statement at Rolling Suds is, this is a relationship. So I believe that not only business, but just life in general and happiness is built on having enriching relationships. And so what we try to do is we go out and develop relationships within our community, trying to add value to any single person that we meet, regardless of whether or not they're going to be able to produce or impact our P&L.
Yep.
And that's worked out really well for us. We get a lot of referrals through that. We're very involved in our community. And the 3 R's of Rolling Suds are relationships, reputation, and reliability.
Yeah.
So we really take that to heart.
For tech stack like this, like what is the tech that you think anybody who has a power
I've never heard of a tech stack
washing business that wants to scale up to $1 million needs?
Automation.
I need to look into this. I need to look deeper into automation. I've heard a lot about automation. Haven't looked too
In terms of the customer experience. So from the time that they request information, the call center script, to the time that they pay for the invoice and ongoing, all of that is built in and automated. And so I did that so that we can have everyone focus on the things that matter, which is driving growth versus like
the tasks that matter. If in my last stream, I didn't get the clips of it. I'm so sad about it. But we talked about the 80-20 rule. I talk about that pretty often. The 80-20 rule basically saying you have to put 80% of your time into the 20% of the, or 20% of the task create 80% of the results. That's what it was. So if you are looking at your to-do list and you're finding tasks that you're doing too much tasks that aren't important or aren't driving the growth, you need to find a way to decrease those tasks and increase the other tasks. Or if you're in that level where you could get employees and stuff, find somebody else to take over those less important tasks.
Texting and saying I'm on my way, or my technician's on my way. Like it just happens automatically.
Like what are some of your favorite techs used? Like for instance, we use a lot of Service Titan or Jobber for workflow management of some of our small businesses.
So I've used Jobber before. I've used Service Minder. I've used Workies, and it looks like we're gonna be moving over to Service Titan. It's just the best. I mean, like I don't want to be an ad for Service Titan, but like what we're trying to do, I mean, we have 187 locations nationwide. Like we need a system that doesn't break.
So talk to me about this truck. What do we got in here?
This is a hell of a truck. I like it.
We have 1,000 gallons of liquid. We have 1,000 feet of hose, 2 machines, cold water.
That's a lot of hose.
Machine that's 10 gallons per minute on this side. And then we have another cold water machine on the other side. And so our equipment allows us to power wash 4-5 stories from the ground without having to get up on ladders. Anything above 4 or 5 stories, we can either rent a lift, or we have a drone company that we're partnered with, and we can hook these hoses up to the drones.
Stop it.
Yeah, dead serious.
You hook it.
And we can hook 5 stories. We can either rent a lift, or
This is dope.
we have a drone company that we're partnered with, and we can hook these hoses up to the drones.
Stop it.
Yeah, dead serious.
You hook a drone up and the drone flies.
The drone flies up and starts to clean the building for you. And we can send, we have 8 drones across the country, and we can send those out to any of our locations.
That seems pretty extra of you.
It's incredibly extra of us. That's the point.
Great marketing.
And we can park this truck here and do this entire building, this huge building, without having to move this truck. That's part of the reason why we have such overkill on the amount of hoses. This truck and this equipment allows us to do, kind of a 3,000 square foot house in about 25-30 minutes. There's a tremendous amount of value, and you can't buy this equipment from anyone other than us. We have a lock on the manufacturer. We build these trucks ourselves, and it gives us kind of a competitive edge and a moat,
He's
if
got
you will.
this shit on lock. He's got this shit on lock. He said you can't even buy this equipment.
You can't buy this equipment from anyone other than us. We have a lock on the manufacturer. We build these trucks ourselves, and it gives us kind of a competitive edge and a moat, if you will, to cross.
Here's the takeaway. When it comes to the trades, so many times there are operational inefficiencies because of this one sentence, which is, that's always the way we've done it. In this business and any business you're going to do in the trades, the beautiful part is to use that mind of yours to come up with something that uses this word that has a lot of vowels called proprietary. And when you have something that is proprietary, that means you get what's called multiple expansion and increase in your valuation as a small business because you have a moat around your business. The other thing that's interesting about this is when you're not a power washer or professional pressure washer, you don't know where to put this stuff. You didn't know that.
Nope.
But you partnered with somebody and said, what are the things that annoy you about this business that don't work very well? And then how could we make this more efficient if we took technology plus a little time and strategy and made it even easier and simpler to do the job? That's the takeaway. So don't just do what everybody else has always done. All right, let's talk about the pros and cons of this business. Let's start with the pros. First of all, you don't need a bunch of cash to start it if you do it the easy way. Second is recurring revenue. You can actually get these people on subscriptions. You guys know that's my love language. Third, this business is not that complicated. Besides the fact that it is really a lot more forearm strength than I thought it was going to be.
What the nah, hold on, wait, who did this? Who's responsible for this right here?
Really a lot more forearm strength.
What do we got going on here?
Than I thought it was going to be. The business is a pretty straightforward business model. The next is you can do a lot of add-ons. So I love the idea of having a bunch of...
That's what I'm saying. To scale a business, you really got to put your all into it. Like, if you really think about it, to be able to consider all this and make it all work for you, you have to really put a lot of effort into it. Seriously. Seriously.
Neighbors right next to each other. I love the idea of pressure washing big apartment buildings and driveways, etc. The next pro that I see in this business is this is a business that allows you to have a pretty hefty margin if you do it right. The next pro in this business is maybe the idea that if you get the right labor pool and you incentivize them to stay with you, you could keep labor for longer. There's a lot more pros.
I like this
and you
incentivize. This image right here is really nice for the company.
Them to stay with you, you could keep labor for longer. There's a lot more pros, but we hit that in the video. So let's talk about the interesting part. All the reasons why this business is really hard. Let's start with the first obvious part. The business is seasonal. And if you're in a market like Pennsylvania or New York, nobody's power washing in the winter, so you gotta think about that. Second is labor is really hard to find. You gotta find labor and you gotta keep them in a full pipeline. Next is gas for a thing like this is not cheap, and chemical prices go up and down. I wrote down a bunch more. Maintenance and tires on trucks like this. Maintenance for all of the equipment. That could really cut you out some cash if you have a big fancy one.
These are all things that sound like overthinking, but they're really important to consider when you want to start a business. Now, I believe anybody could do anything, but you have to consider this and understand this is going to be a challenge you have to face.
Environmental regulations. What can you do with the soap? How do you dispose of it one way or the other? Also, billing hassles, people paying late, making sure that...
But you usually find out about all these struggles as you go on about the business. So I highly recommend that you do not try researching this before starting. These are things you're gonna have to learn along the way.
You have that. There's lots of things that could go wrong in this business for sure. Insurance if you're tradespeople. But here's the thing, every business has difficulties. Those are some of the ones in this business. Every business is a carefully mitigated series of disasters held together by grit and your hard work. That's exactly what this business is too. Now this guy did an incredible job with a lot of hard work and luck, but I want to be honest about the fact that these things are hard to do. You know what? It's kind of like what my grandma says. Business, it ain't for pussies.
Damn, hold on. Why she had to say all that? Hey, let me know if y'all enjoyed this video, if y'all want to see more from this page. If y'all want to see more from this page, let me know. Let's see what else we got. She's got a lot of content. I need to find pages in this similar niche.